So the BBC, which already has a terrible reputation, not just within Britain, within the UK, but sort of across the world now for being just completely embarrassing themselves on a regular basis, whether it be sort of misinformation, constantly pushing this left wing narrative, has embarrassed themselves yet again. So, in a recent episode of Question Time, which I would recommend you guys go and watch on BBC iPlayer on the 4th of December, when talking about the issues with illegal immigration, actually invited on a illegal migrant into the audience. Not anyone that's actually been affected by illegal migration, none of the families that have been impacted by crimes committed by illegal migrants, but actually an illegal migrant themselves. And watch how Zaya Yusuf responds to this.
Ashraf, where are you sitting? Ashraf, there you are. Can you just, so you came over from Afghanistan on a small boat in the last 4 or 5 years, I think.
Yes, I come from Afghanistan.
So was the UK where you wanted to claim asylum, or did you try and
So this
claim
man
asylum
was
in other
an
countries
illegal
on the
migrant,
way?
one of the illegal
I
migrants that they
applied
invited
for
onto the show.
asylum. I was a refugee and I passed many interviews in different countries.
So tell us which country did you try to claim asylum in?
My first interview was in Turkey, and the second one in Macedonia, in Serbia, in Romania, Austria, and recently in Germany, but that ain't in here.
So you applied for asylum in all those countries, what, and they all turned you down?
These countries just reject me, and they didn't accept me.
So what do you say to the woman here who says, why is it the men that are coming, and what about their families? Why did you come on your own, and what about the fact that so many men are coming?
Everybody knows my country is not safe for us. We have a war, about 15 years we are living in a war. Because of that, just we come here, and I just want to leave, and because of that I come here.
So Zia, when you hear a story like that, for example, do you think that someone like Ashraf, despite the fact he's fleeing a war, and there are many wars around the country, in fact, can't take everybody, they shouldn't be able to come?
Yeah, well, I don't know enough about that particular individual story, so
No,
I'll
sure,
comment
I
more
get that.
broadly.
But in terms of the principle
I think
of it,
in terms of broad strokes, let me be clear. If you're entering a war zone, it's generally men first. If you're fleeing a war zone, it's generally women and children first. And the vast majority of the people coming to this country via the English Channel illegally are men. That is a statistical fact. When people talk about language, I don't know what language people are objecting to. I'm dealing with statistics, I'm dealing with data, and I think that's a sensible way to formulate policy. And I think we should use language clearly. I think we should use language accurately and fearlessly.
Okay, but just to be specific, Zia, because the reform policy is to deport all illegal immigrants in the UK within 5 years. So that would be...
One example that I just think is very relevant as well, guys. I know that the actual war was a little bit different, but World War II, for example, when World War II was going on, what you didn't see all the men fleeing and the women staying here. All the men were leaving to go to war, and our women and children were staying at home. And I know it's a little bit different, the wars in their country, but I think if the same thing happened here, if there was a war that broke out here, I wouldn't leave. And all the women and children would be the first people out, and the men would stay and fight. So this is where people have an issue with it, is why are the men leaving? Why is it mostly men turning up on our shore and the women and children are being left in a war zone? It doesn't make sense at all.
I mean, these are real people. That would be someone like you. And that's what you're saying, right? Okay.
If you are in this country illegally, let me be crystal clear. If Nigel Farage is our next Prime Minister, and that's obviously what we're working to deliver, if you're in this country illegally, you will be deported back to the country from which you came. Over 170,000 people have arrived in this country illegally since 2018. Most of that work was done by the Tories, sadly, and that is more people than arrived on the beaches of Normandy on D-Day. I have used the word invasion before, and people might object to that term, but the dictionary definition of an invasion is an unwanted incursion into a space of land. And I don't know what to describe it. 170,000 people arriving. By the way, what are the countries from which they are coming? They're coming from Syria, they're coming from Afghanistan, they're coming from Iraq, they are coming from Iran, not countries that have a track record of having Britain's interests at heart.
Okay, all right.
The British state exists to serve
I
the
need to hear
British
from the rest of the
people.
panel. Hang on. Daisy.
Exactly. That's another issue that I think is very important is the kind of cultures that they're coming from. You know, we've had quite a big influx of Ukrainian refugees in this country, which have mostly been women and children, not men. But in terms of their assimilation into British culture, there's no problem there. You don't hear about Ukrainians, women, but you do hear about migrants doing it. So there is also that issue there that it's also the kind of culture that the numbers are unmanageable anyway, and then also factor in the kind of culture that these guys are coming from. It's not. It's clearly an issue, and it's something that I think definitely needs to be brought up and brought to attention.
Let's hear. So the man in the white shirt. Now I know you came over on a small boat. Am I right?
Another illegal migrant.
What's your response
on
to
a show paid for by the British public.
People like you.
Insane.
Well, let me say something first. I just want to clear that leaving the convention doesn't just affect the migrants. It would give ordinary people one less court to protect their rights. Even for weekend checks and the government power risk on peace settlement in Northern Ireland and damage our security cooperation.
Let me ask you about your situation. I mean, since we were talking about immigration in this program today, we thought, and we will be talking about people like you, we would see if there were, 2 or 3, 4 people who wanted to come along who are in that situation, and I know you are. So you, because I talked to you beforehand, you came from Iran. I just wonder what you think of this idea, because one thing that the government is talking about is if, and a number of parties are, if the countries are safe, they become safe once you have left them, in your case, Iran.
Okay.
Would you be then happy to go back?
Well, there's 2 points which we need to take care about them. First of all, okay, physically, if Iran is safe, the regime change, there is a regime change in Iran, okay, that's safe for people like me to go back to Iran. But the second thing which we need to take care about it is, for example, for me, I have a 4-month-old daughter, so she born here, and she's growing up here. She will growing up here, learning English, learning how to read and write English, and she won't know how to read and write Farsi or even speak Farsi.
So you wouldn't want to go back with your family?
Yeah, even after, let's say, after 5 years, a government from Mr. Zia reform, which came originally from a migrant family, came tell me to go back to your country. What will happen to my daughter? Do you think this is
I'll happily answer that question. My parents came here legally. They did not come here illegally. And look, there's a clear dividing line in British politics. If you're watching this at home and you want to vote for a party that will prioritise the interests of foreign nationals who came here illegally, or do you want to vote for a party that's going to prioritise British citizens who work hard, set their alarm clocks in the evening before going to bed, and toil to pay tax money?
That is not the dividing line. That is not the dividing line in British politics right now.
Do you know how much money the British
There are other choices available.
Do you know how much money the British taxpayers had to pay for universal credit payments alone for foreign nationals last year? That was £10 billion.
Do you know how much an asylum seeker gets a week?
Hang on, if you're talking, no one can hear.
£49 a week. £49 a week. This is what this man wants to take off you.
2029, British taxpayers will be spending half the forecast defence budget on universal credit alone for foreign nationals. There's nothing about that that's remotely acceptable. And I'm sorry, we will stick up for British citizens who paid their taxes.
So yeah, yet again, the BBC embarrassing themselves. I mean, just when you don't think their reputation can get any worse, they go and do something as stupid as this. And I think this is why, it doesn't matter what your opinion is in politics, but this is why Reform, Nigel Farage, Yusuf has gotten so popular, is because they are actually willing to call out the issue of illegal migration and say without apologies that we are going to prioritise the British people. Whether that will actually happen when they get in office, we all know what politicians are like. But yeah, just as I thought, I wanted to show you guys this one. I was felt quite passionate about it because I do live in a. I'm not going to say where I live, but I live in a place that has been affected by this, and it is a problem. And the residents, everyone who lives here, acknowledges that it's an issue. But then you've got people that don't live in these kind of places that are affected. They live in sort of posh areas of the UK, nice areas of the UK that just aren't affected at all, and they have a complete opposite opinion. When you actually live in a town that's impacted by it, you see the kind of issues that it raises. And again, this is why reform has become so popular, because they are actually willing to call it out as a serious, serious issue. When you've got British veterans starving on the streets, homeless, yet we can house however many people in a hotel. Yeah, they are. There's some free food. You want to shut up? Da, da, da. What? You're a British veteran. You served in the military. You served your country. Get fucked, mate. You know, this is why people are getting sick of it. Yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Is Yusuf right? Am I right? I don't know. Again, I'm just a guy on the internet. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. I appreciate all this. I've got 20 subscribers. We're now at 21. So yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate all the support, all the comments, all the engagement. But yeah, let me know if there's any specific content you want me to cover or kind of comment over or go over. Yeah, as always, thank you very much for watching the video, guys. I'll see you in the next one.